Okay, and welcome to the Davies Use Case webinar being presented by Clinic Abu Dhabi on OR change posting process optimization. This is a Davies Award-winning use case for the value of health IT. My name is Arnold Simmons, and I'm the Manager of Quality and Patient Safety here at HIMSS, and it's my pleasure to moderate this presentation. Core to the HIMSS mission is promoting the use of health information and technology to improve the quality of health care delivery. HIMSS promotes and advocates the integration of clinical decision support and best practice guidance, access to clinical data to analyze progress, and information and technology-enabled patient safety tools for all healthcare organizations, clinicians, patients, community members as vehicles for improving patient outcomes. The HIMSS Nicholas E. Davies Award of Excellence is the pinnacle of the HIMSS Value Recognition Programs. The Davies Award recognizes outstanding achievement of organizations from around the world who have utilized health information and technology to improve patient outcomes and value. Davies Award-winning use cases have been peer-reviewed to validate sustainable, improved patient and business outcomes resulting from health information and technology care delivery. It is my pleasure to welcome our speakers for today's webinar. We have Joanne Bruton, Rajesh Savendadan, and Shista Sait and Alex Downs. It's my pleasure to welcome our speakers for today's call. We have Joanne Bruton, we have Rajesh Savendadan, and Shista Sait and Alex Downs. I would just like to welcome you all, and you can begin when you're ready. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay. Hello. Welcome to the CCAD HIMSS Davies OR Charge Posting Process Optimization Project. The team involved, the case study is an OR charge posting process optimization. Myself, Joanne Bruton, Director of Perioperative Services, Rajesh Salvanathan, Manager EMR IT, Shaista Sait, Manager of Supply Chain, and Alex Downs, Manager of Informatics.
Hello, everyone. Before we go down to the case study, a brief introduction on who we are and what we do. Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi is the first U.S. multi-specialty hospital set outside of the North American geography. Located in Abu Dhabi, the capital of United Arab Emirates, this hospital is in line with the vision of leadership of Abu Dhabi, who identified healthcare as a key element for future development. Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi has partnered with global leaders and Mubadala's network of world-class assets to lay down the foundation of a sustainable healthcare system. From our vision and mission statement, it is quite evident that the foundation goes beyond providing complex and critical care for the population. CCAD is committed to supporting medical research, education, and providing a venue for Emirati nationals to develop their careers in healthcare sector in both clinical and non-clinical roles. To fulfill our mission, the hospital was designed to offer state-of-the-art treatment for some of the community's sickest members. They are served by 26 operating rooms and 364 patient beds, expandable up to 496 beds, so that when we can continue to grow to meet future local demand. Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi is a physician-led hospital with a unique multidisciplinary model of care. The focus is on excellence in patient care and supporting medical research and education. We aim to provide world-class care closer to home for our patients, ensuring they do not need to travel. We are organized around 13 institutes, including 5 centers of excellence, namely heart and vascular, neurological, digestive disease, eye, respiratory, and critical care. These institutes combine to offer complex and critical care across more than 30 medical and surgical specialties and more than 60 subspecialties. Working together, they provide an unparalleled level of care for our local and regional community. At our hospital, we have more than 5,000 caregivers representing more than 70 nationalities. Our diverse caregiver family reflects the diversity of the UAE population. Our efforts to support the development of the next generation of Emirati caregivers have led to our recent success in growing the number of UAE national caregivers to 18% of our workforce. In addition to world-class care that we provide, Cleveland Clinic has a number of unique offerings. We have a raft of detailed outcomes and performance metrics that are continuously monitored at the highest level of our organization. Patient experience is a key part of that. We pride ourselves on delivering a world-class experience from the moment our patients enter our hospital until they leave. Cleveland Clinic's principle is the patient-first philosophy, which guides everything we do. This enables us to focus on delivering exceptional level of complex and critical care, supporting people for every step of the patient journey. Innovation is at the heart of our care as we introduce new treatments, devices, technologies, and approaches to our care. The patient-first philosophy is the core of CCAD. The approach to care combines state-of-the-art amenities with the best global clinical practices. Every aspect of the hospital was designed with the patient in mind. In terms of quality and complexity of the care, we offer advanced regional first treatments such as robotic mitral valve repairs to bronchial thermoplasty, remote heart monitoring, as well as 24/7 epilepsy monitoring. Fulfilling our promise to deliver world-class healthcare in the UAE, including the development of first multi-organ transplant program. Over the past year, we have successfully performed first full heart transplant, first full liver transplant, first lung transplant, first double lung transplant, first successful related living donor liver transplant in the UAE, and also 12 kidney transplants. In addition to the above, we have also successfully performed UAE's first robotic hysterectomy, first robotic myomectomy, first endoscopic sleeve gastroplasty, and cardioband mitral valve repair. We are also a Department of Health designated teaching and research hospital. In our role as a teaching hospital, we provide a foundation for the future development of UAE's medical sector, allowing the next generation of UAE nationals to train and develop the skill. We have also recently started offering our new services in Al Ain within the Abu Dhabi Emirate, wherein we provide neurology, pulmonology, urology, and sleep medicine services. We have also attained Arab Board accreditation to begin physician residency program, offering physician residency program in internal medicine, general surgery, and ophthalmology. We are also the first hospital in the region to adopt remote heart monitoring system in Heart and Vascular Institute.
The OR charge process overview. CCAD uses OpTime and the EPIC module for perioperative documentation, and Lawson Inventory Management system is the ERP system. The supplies, implants, and pharmaceutical supplies with pertinent information, including supply name, HSPC code, cost, manufacturer name, expiry date, is fed to the EPIC OpTime module through the material management interface. The clinical workflow starts from surgeon ordering a procedure through the case request. All procedures in EPIC are linked to preference cards, which drives a list of supplies and implants, scheduling, patient instructions, medications, staff, etc. This drives the printing of a pick list a day before the surgery for nurses and CSSD to pick supplies for the procedure of the day. After the patient arrives for surgery, the nurse activates the log, and all perioperative documentation occurs on this log. This also captures all appropriate charges for the procedure performed. These charges are reviewed by the OR charge poster, and the surgical log is posted, and the charges are dropped within EPIC. The Revenue Integrity team reviews the charges and processes the claim. Our local problem that we identified: 75% of OR case logs were not posted in under 30 days during the first 9 months of opening, resulting in a potential loss of revenue of up to 70%. The impact of this included negative patient experience due to not being able to produce that final bill, inefficient process causing waste of both supplies and personnel utilisation, and of course, most obviously, the potential loss of revenue of up to 70%. Here's a diagram reflecting the large number of OR cases unposted, 74%. Project goals and objectives. The primary objective was to eliminate root causes for delay in log posting and reduce this percentage of open logs from greater than 70% to under 5% within a year. Other objectives were to reduce the turnaround time for log posting from an average of 36 days to under 2 days, to develop an integrated OR technical charging process that allows for effective charge capturing and claim submission for revenue reimbursement, and implement effective monitoring mechanisms.
The project spanned across 15 months and was divided into 3 phases. The first phase was to analyze and measure the problem. In this phase, we formed the project team under the guidance of a steering committee to establish operational and clinical governance structure and processes. We then began analyzing the workflow, understanding industry best practices, identifying the problem areas and the root causes, and finally defined the problem statement and developed action plan to address the root causes. The next phase was to implement the action plan to resolve the root causes, including solution design, which included workflow optimization, process mapping improvements, and led to a number of operational process changes, IT changes, training, and ultimately deployment in production. The final phase was to monitor and control the issues, which included daily monitoring of progress through reports and active caregiver feedback mechanism. The enhancement requests were evaluated, and after due change process, they were deployed in production. The project sponsors. The executive sponsors included the Office of COO, the Chief Nursing Office, and the Chief Information Office. The steering committee comprised of Institute Administrator, Director of Perioperative Nursing, Chief Medical Informatics Office, and Senior Director of Clinical Application. The project team included members from Supply Chain, Periop Nursing Services, Information Technology, and Project Management.
Weekly workshops were held to analyse and determine the impact and solutioning going forward. The project was put forward to the varying governance committees for approval. Process changes were communicated to business. A training plan was put in place and action to ensure that all caregivers were aware of the new workflow within each role. Informatics support shadowed the process and reported daily status updates, working closely with nursing and supply chain to resolve any issues on the fly. Feedback was then reported back to the committee to assess the process is working as expected.
During the analyse, define and measure phase, we first did a high-level root cause analysis fishbone diagram, which identified 6 major areas to focus on, being compliance, inaccurate supply charging, OR material management and our operational model, inaccurate implant charge capture, lack of clarity in reporting in OR material management, and an item master cleanup. Further analysis resulted in a detailed Pareto chart showing 35 different root causes. Among those, you can see clearly highlighted top 10 of those were quite significant root causes.
From our analysis session, it was quite evident that both IT intervention and process optimization was needed to fix existing issues. The following were the top root causes identified. There were zero-cost items, both supplies and implants, and hence could not be submitted in the claims. There were items without the HCPCS code, which are a regional requirement for submitting claims. There were items which were brought at CCAD and were available for documentation. There were a variety of reasons for that. Some of the vendors were supplying us free of cost items for trials, or some of the items were also bought by bypassing our supply chain processes. There were incomplete or incorrect preference cards. The supply categorization in the item master were also false in there. The cancel logs due to early opening even before the patient arrived in the hospital. This was a training issue with the nurses opening the logs for chart review even before the patient arrived. And if the surgery was canceled, these resulted in the backlogs. There were open anesthesia encounters due to incomplete documentation.
Some baseline data that we captured. Key metrics captured as baseline data at the start of the project included the average turnaround time for log posting was at 36 days, a potential uncharged revenue of up to 70%, and total unposted cases were at 1,166 to 1,570. During the improve phase, an action plan was identified. This included dedicated time was slotted across all required teams for better traction. Work group meetings were conducted every week with follow-up actions for each team that were clearly identified. Defined timelines for tasks and strict adherence to governance processes were followed. Coordination of interdependent tasks with specific leads were assigned. Each team needed to provide updates on the task in progress and completed. A centralized tracker for all open action items and status updates for visibility was developed. When required, smaller task force were formed and action items were assigned. Fortnightly updates to the steering committee provided on the progress. The solution design plan that would guarantee project success had three key areas. For people, we had a new role was created for a charge posting position. There was a replacement of retiring or leaving caregivers was needed. Training of new caregivers. Under processes, we had standard workflows created and updated operating manuals. And under technology, IT system enhancements to meet compliance and regional needs were done. The people improvements. The opportunities included no existing charge poster. The solution was to create this new position and hire for a charge posting position, and that impact was to have faster and more accurate posting of logs. Stewardship and succession planning across all functions. We had to create a culture that incorporates cross-development of staff to act as backups for all key functions. And the impact was to have better prepared teams that were able to overcome challenges faced by key people leaving or being away.
Several areas of opportunities were identified in the root cause analysis, and these were addressed in the Lawson IT system. One of the areas was the missing HCPCS codes. So there were several items in the item master where the mapping of items to the HCPCS codes was missing. So supply chain coordinated with the revenue integrity team to complete the mapping and to ensure that no item had a missing HCPCS code. Another area was zero cost and inactive items available in Epic. So Lawson being the source of truth, there was an item master interface developed to send all item master items from Lawson to Epic. The initial item master had about 40,000 SKUs, out of which around 20,000 SKUs were actually being procured and used at CCAD. This resulted in several of the items having zero cost and inactive and losses. The enhancement was done to the item master interface, where inactive and zero cost items were filtered out, and this ensured that only active items went over to Epic. Items turning zero cost after stock reaches zero. This was a system technical issue which reset the cost to zero once the item went out of stock. This was again addressed and a patch applied to fix the issue. Similar to the HCPCS code, the pharmaceuticals are required to have a GRC or a HAD charge code. Some of these were missing again in the item master. The charge codes or the GRC codes were updated in coordination with the pharmaceutical team or the pharmacy team. Items were categorized into supplies and implants, which ensured that correct documentation was being captured, and the claims were submitted on time.
For the Epic improvements, we had incorrect or incomplete preference card, as Joanne was alluding. Preference card or functionality in Epic, which hosts all the information for the surgery that's required, including supplies. We updated the supply pick list in preference card along with all the nurse managers for all different surgical specialties. The missing medications for which are used intraoperatively were identified and built in Epic, which resulted in an easier, faster, and a more complete documentation of items by the nurse in the OR. For the canceled cases for the no-shows, we built in a hard stop to eliminate the opening of cases by the OR nurses prior to the arrival of the patients, which resulted in no open logs in error. We also identified there were missing procedure and procedure cards. We built around 73 new procedures, which led to easier, faster, and more complete documentation of items, as well as the correct surgical procedure was being documented. There were also missing CPT codes, which are required for submitting the claims. We built 27 new procedures with associated CPT codes, which resulted in correct charging, coding of the surgeries that were being performed. For the incomplete anesthesia documentation, we sent in-basket messages to the anesthesiologists for open encounters. There were also daily reports, weekly reports being sent to the anesthesia chief for open encounters. This led to prompt documentation, faster turnaround for billing with complete documentation. There was also ambiguity of supply location within while picking supplies. We added a location column to the pick list report for easier picking by nurses and CSSD members. This led to accurate, efficient picking of supplies for the day of surgery. These are some of the screenshots. So the first screenshot is for the procedure card, which was updated to reflect all the supplies that were required for surgery. On the left-hand side of the next screenshot, you can see the inventory location has been added to the pick list for accuracy and convenience. The third one is the error message, the hard stop, which was built in to opening of the logs prior to the patient arrival.
For the training elements, a new role was identified and workflows defined to enable the training of the OR charge poster and also to existing and new peri-op nurses. Charge posters and nurses were trained to document and review surgical charges with particular focus on the importance of surgical log creation. The nurse managers were then also taught to create preference cards and maintain them with updates. The anesthesiologist training sessions were held for completion of necessary documentation, and after that, all of the training materials were updated to reflect the EPIC changes for peri-op nurses and anesthesiologists to ensure the solid knowledge base going forward.
General process improvements. Some opportunities identified included no operating manuals for material management. The fix was developed operating manual for OR material management, establishing strong communication channels, and the impact was clear and defined processes were published for new and existing caregivers. Another opportunity was that there was no workflow for intra-op nurses to add or substitute items in preference cards. The fix was a new workflow designed for intra-op nurse to request changes in the preference cards from the intra-op navigator. The impact was the process improvement through easier addition of items to preference cards. Another opportunity was the substitute items were enabled in the procedure cards. Nurse managers were trained on the process for global substitution of supplies charge capture, and the impact was easier and complete substitution of items across specialties. Another opportunity was to improve communication. A fix was a Vocera and email group optimization with supply chain members and OR technicians mapped to perioperative service area. The impact was easier and defined communication channels.
Several process improvement initiatives were undertaken in supply chain area. One of these was to reduce the variances in inventory, what was available in physical inventory versus what was in the system. A continuous cycle count process was implemented, and a returns process was documented and implemented. This helped in understanding the usage patterns of supplies and also the return of stock. The inventory was being depleted manually from Lawson based on the usage in Epic. This manual process was leading to delays and incorrect counts. The fix was to implement a auto depletion interface between Epic and Lawson for accurate stock inventory. This resulted in faster and more accurate count at the end of the day. OR inventory and supply chain location. Inventory location for perpetual tracking and Kanban was set up in the OR area. This was to segregate fast-moving, low-value items from the high-value items for better visibility. This ensured that supplies are readily available at the point of use and are replenished on time from the distribution center. Process gaps were identified in the areas of management of consignment items, free of charge, and sample supplies. These gaps were addressed and policies and procedures were developed. This resulted in accurate capture of charges for these supplies.
Monitoring progress towards success. There were new dashboards which were created within Epic for preference card management and to update tracking. A weekly report was also sent out to look for zero-cost items and ones with missing HCPCS code. We also created a Tableau dashboard to monitor open cases and root causes and to fix them.
This is an example of a new dashboard within Epic for preference card management and update tracking to ensure regular review and updating of supplies occurred. Here is another Tableau dashboard that provided a holistic view of posted versus unposted cases with revenue per surgical service and the cause of the unposted case. So from here we had to measure our success, and of course without data you're just another person with an opinion. The value derived. There was a stunning turnaround of the issue, and the time for log posting went from over an average of 36 days to 1 day, excluding weekends and holidays, from Q2 2015 to Q3 2015. The volume of OR cases potentially impacted can be seen in this diagram here, where we have the actual volumes per quarter for 2015 to 2018 time period. And you can see the bottom trending line is indicative of the potential revenue loss that we were at risk of having occur.
This diagram depicts the item master cleanup exercise that was undertaken. A number of items were inactivated, the ones which were not being procured or used at CCAD. Then several items were converted from stock to non-stock. And since these were being purchased for specific institutes, The other item attributes like the manufacturer details, the pack factors, etc., were also updated.
So a summary of our overall improvements. We were able to reduce the charge posting time significantly. We created some system integration. We did a material master list cleanup. Procedure cards were reviewed. A new role was created for the perioperative coder. It allowed us to increase our surgical volumes without impacting our revenue. Lessons learned. These included for people, change management and accountability for existing workflow problems challenging. We had open communication, encouraged dialogue and positive change. Technology, we had active feedback from on-the-ground caregivers for IT system enhancers that were deemed beneficial. Health IT solutions leverage operational workflows and influence positive outcomes. For process, robust training is critical for continuous improvement. Transition plan essential for retiring caregivers and role changes. Our action plan for continuous improvement. Two-way integration between Lawson and Epic for Item Master was recommenced. Supply depletion interface was implemented for a live feed from Epic to Lawson to reconcile consumed items against the issued item. The information is triggered as and when a log is posted in Epic. Pilot implementation of GS1 barcode supplies and implants for Heart and Vascular Institute. Initial results are showing faster and minimal documentation errors in supply charging. Plan is to implement this in time across the hospital. Epic build for implant sets, especially for neuro services, for accurate and convenient documentation of implants. Epic and OI nursing managers continue effort of bundling procedure cards to minimise return of supplies as a pick list will be more relevant and accurate. Activate, replace and substitute functionality in Lawson and reflect the supplier's contracts in the system. A summary recap. We started with our problem statement of 74% of OI case logs were not posted in under 30 days in the first 9 months of opening, resulting in this potential loss of revenue of up to 70%. Solution design and implementation, system enhancements in Epic and Lawson, in addition to process changes and training opportunities. The result was a reduced turnaround time for log posting, significantly reduced unposted OI cases by greater than 60%, and improved revenue growth related to this OI case growth.
Okay, we would like to thank our speakers from Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi for joining us today. And we would like to remind our listeners where to go find Davies use case webinars and information on how to apply for Davies. That information can be found posted at the HIMSS Davies Award website at hims.org/Davies. That is hims.org/Davies. Thank you for joining us.